Test, test. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the stream. We're just going to check some audio things here real quick. Sabrina,
Okay.
one more time.
Okay. Hello? Hello? Why am I not seeing you live?
You're not seeing me live.
Just get me update. Here we go. It's good. I can hear myself too.
You can where? Oh, yep. There we go. Oh, sorry for the technical stuff, folks. Just wanted to make sure you could hear us both loud and clear. And it looks like you can. So that's good, right? All right. We are going to do a little recap here. I am DN Sundevil. That's Siren the Voice, my wife. She started playing Star Citizen with me a couple of weeks ago, so we have had some fun, I think, starting things out, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
And she picked a good time to start, like right at the beginning of Invictus. So we're gonna jump in, and I'm gonna roll some background footage of our experiences at Invictus, and we're just gonna talk about the last week a little bit. What do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about your week, or you want to talk about specifics we saw?
I'd like to talk first, I think, about some of the stuff that they missed in the patch right before Invictus. So stuff that they couldn't push out.
Oh,
As it relates to that, because there was a bunch of stuff that I think everybody was expecting as part of this patch that brought us Invictus that did not come.
yeah, there were some big things. So patch 3.23 was supposed to be where personal hangars and cargo, specifically like freight elevators in your personal hangar and all of that stuff was supposed to come live. And they decided to hold that back. And rightfully so. It's a big part of the game loop, cargo is. And if that wasn't quite right, I could totally understand them wanting to hold back and get some of those barriers taken care of before they put it in game. And that's exactly what they did.
There's also something in the notes and in um the the path that they're taking for some of these patch items. And one that I was seeing in there was the FPS loot screen. And I'm curious what this means and whether this is what you were struggling with while we were doing some of the things we were doing over the last week with fast loot when you're in FPS.
Okay. Yeah, I'm following you. So the FPS stuff went in. The loot screen is updated and it went in. You've seen it where it has when you go to loot a body, you have a split on the top and a split on the bottom. Their inventory and your inventory basically. Um and then the all the different buttons that let you manage that. So that went in. Nothing else is slated. Maybe they'll make some improvements to it over time. But yeah, I found it a little jarring at first. Now, I'll admit that the way the inventory stuff worked in the past is exactly like you see in game, like when you're in a space station or in your ship or something. Um, you essentially hit I and you'll have like all your inventory shown on one side of the screen, and then there'll be a tab at the top that'll say like local and then inventory. And local means like the place you're standing in. So for example, if you were in your ship, that would be the local inventory. And it'll even say it'll have a different name there. It'll be like if you were ship in your ship, it would say anvil something or other, and then you would have another tab that was your inventory on you. And then on the other side of the screen, you would have the same things, and you can flip between the tabs so you can kind of manage inventory between the two areas. And as you can imagine, while you were in a firefight, which we now have direct experience with, and you're boop 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 boop, shooting people down, and you want to loot their stuff, that's not exactly the most convenient system
No.
for doing that. That being said, I can't say that the system we encountered was also the easiest thing to deal with, but I've gotten used to it myself. I think I understand how it works and why, so I'm figuring ways to work around. I'm taking it you're not a fan at the moment.
And I know that in other streams that you've done over the week that I have not been able to participate in because working, that you've been struggling with being able to loot bodies to get ammo that for weapons that you're carrying quickly so that you can restock and continue without getting killed. So I think that's where the biggest issue is you'll get stuck in some loops that cause some problems with some of our first person shooting experiences where things weren't loading properly. Things were difficult to loot when you're trying to do something quickly to make sure that you stay alive. Um, things like that. And I think that the way in which the loot system is working currently is great when you have the time to pick through and grab the things you need, but not fantastic when you're in that quick environment.
So you're absolutely right. Some of the things that I've learned about it though, like so part of its difficulty comes from me even after playing the game on and off for a few years and then really heavily since last November. Um just not having a lot of experience with doing that in a quick way. What I've learned this week is how the inventory management system works in the game as a whole. And once you understand how that works, this isn't like, and I'm not picking on any of the games that I mentioned off the top of my head, but this isn't like Skyrim, this isn't like Baldur's Gate, this isn't like games like even Diablo, games that do have a limited inventory, but at least it's large enough so I mean, in your head canon, you can't be running through the desert and you picked up like 13 horse parts, five greater two-handed axes, and they all fit in your inventory.
Right.
That's not realistic. So you have to think of it from the Star Citizen point of view, where they've always tried to temper that. They want it to be as realistic an experience as possible, but also be able to have fun. So those two things don't always work together seamlessly. And once they started thinking about it in terms of Star Citizen and their vision, I started having a better time with it. I go in and I open an inventory. Yes, I want that cool armor. However, I can't carry all that cool armor in my backpack. I could swap it out and leave my armor behind. I could potentially take one piece of it and put it in my backpack and wear another piece. And that loot interface, the way it's set up now, you can absolutely do that. So it wasn't really intuitive. But remember, there's not a lot of tutorials in game either. A lot of the mouse overs don't make things intuitive, and that's partly alpha, partly because we don't have an instruction manual built in yet. I just had a better time getting through that stuff. I found that when you change to different views, you could actually really quickly grab everything on that person in a snap. But can you carry it? And there's
Not
the hitch.
necessarily.
So if you go to do that and you know that you can't carry it, you're creating problems for yourself. Things that you can do quickly. When that snaps up, you can quickly, if you have room for any inventory in your backpack, it will tell you to hold, I think it's shift and then left mouse button.
Yep.
So if you shift and left mouse button, it automatically just packs in your backpack. Once in a while, you'll see another option that'll say equip. So like, say you had space for 8 ammo on your core armor. If you've used 2 of them, when you bring up the guy's inventory screen, you should be able to just click 2 of them. It's not a shift click. Just click 2 of them and it will equip them on your empty armor slots. Anything else, you have to have room in your backpack, and then the only option would be shift click. And if you've got no room, it says swap. So it actually is telling me way more than I thought initially, but in the heat of a battle, I wasn't reasoning all that out. I wasn't reading it all. I'm like, why is it just not? And switching between all the clicks. But now I get it. So now when I sit down, I know I've got 8 packs. My chest is full. My backpack's got nothing in it. I should be able to shift click these to put them in my backpack. The minute I can't, my backpack's full, right?
Right.
So now knowing all that, it's a little bit better. So here's something else that I've learned, and I actually just learned this today. So say you want to get that guy's inventory and it's like really cool and you want everything on it. The best way to do that is that one where you're in the view with the 2 things. There's a little like armor swap button down on your part and it's highlighted in yellow.
Okay, yeah.
It looks like a little chest armor with reverse arrows. If you click that, it goes into a different view, which is much more like the old view. So you're seeing him over here, and then you're seeing your local inventory over here. Or your what you can do if you want all that stuff, click on his undersuit, click the undersuit and drag it over there. Everything he's carrying comes with the undersuit.
Ah.
So now that kind of sucks for you if you can't carry it, but I've learned some things that we're going to try today when we go do our FPS stuff. We're going to take our Carrack to one of those distribution centers.
Yeah.
And when we get to the distribution center, we're going to take the Carrack. You and I are going to hop in the Pisces. We're going to fly over to the 2 landing pads that are by the lobby.
Yep.
And all those distribution centers seem to have a lobby. So we'll fly over, and there's 2 small landing pads. Like we'd never fit the big ship there, but we can fit the Pisces there. When we are standing in the Pisces and open our inventory, we are also in the distribution center. So you get where this is going?
Oh.
Now, these smaller craft are just like us. They can't hold everything, but I think the Pisces holds like the equivalent of 4 SCU of cargo. So that's got to be like 20 or 30 guns. And this is what I was going to mention today, to make these missions not just fun for us, but also a little more lucrative. It's not the best thing in the world, but if we make 34K for the mission and we get an extra 500 for everybody we shoot because of the call to arms quest that we take, what if we take all the weapons, and all the weapons will sell between 1 to like 1.8K? So if we cram an extra 10, 20 weapons in our ship plus the thing, we can make like an extra 20K on each one of those.
And where do we sell those?
You just leave them in the ship and you sell them at the local depot.
Okay.
So any place we can buy it weapons, you can go sell them as well. So I thought we would try that today, which seems really cool.
That does sound cool.
I know I ranted a lot about more than just the inventory stuff there. Did I kind of touch on some of the issues that I had?
Yeah. Well, it was saying in the pathway stuff that I'm using the wrong terminology. That this was committed, but it wasn't actually in the patch. So
the roadmap?
Yeah, the roadmap. So that's why I was wanting to talk about it, because I didn't know whether there was going to be something different than what we saw, if there's something more that's coming to make more quick looting happen, where you're picking up incidentals, you're picking up the ammo, you're picking up the, the med pens and things like that, more so than the guns and the ammo and that type of thing. So I just didn't know if there was more coming to that, because they really didn't have a lot of detail that I could find. Then again, I didn't go digging very severely on it either.
Right, and then the system we were using, which turns out is the new system, it's just that it's not intuitive. But again, if you take the things that I just mentioned now a few minutes ago, I think it helps a little bit just understanding. I went in here loaded up to kill everything. I don't have room to put anything.
Yeah.
So there are some ways around that we'll be able to work around that.
Well, we'll give that a shot. Something to continue watching us for, or watch later in the stream for, because we will be testing that particular.
So again, the way that should work, it's not just standing in the Anvil Pisces. When we're in the distribution center, it's going to be kind of like we're in the hangar. If we open that, hopefully we'll see our Pisces. So then we'll be, because
Yeah.
I watched somebody else's video, and I would love to give him credit, but I can't remember who it was. I'm so sorry. I'm sure you know who you are if you see my video. You had just released a video on this very thing, and I saw you grab the undersuit from a dude in the distribution center where you just killed him. You clicked his undersuit and he had like half a dozen items on him, and you drug that over and dropped it in your Pisces, and literally everything went over there. Your main focus, I believe, when I watched your videos was the weapons, because out of all the things you could sell, the weapons kind of brought the most money. Although you can sell everything that those guys drop, you can sell their armor pieces too. Anyway, so yeah, that's the new loot system, and I think given some time, we'll get used to it. But let's be honest. Again, from a realism standpoint, it's kind of reflective of the way it would really be. Like, you're in a firefight, you're gonna stop and like cleanse this guy for all his shit? Probably not. And if you are, you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah.
And if you get lucky and grab some things off of him, which is all we want to do, and that, see, you watched me play a few days ago, and I did have a problem. I was doing a bunker that was way beyond just me solo, and the guys just kept coming and kept coming, and I kept trying. I wanted to do this bunker regardless of whether I should have been able to or not. And there were several times where I just needed to get me and my spacesuit to like some weapons. And the problem I was having was I'd pull up that inventory and I was trying to click his armor pieces and drag them out to myself, or just double click them to equip them. But I was doing it in that split view. And in that split view, it won't let you do a swap like that. Now, it might, but maybe I just wasn't registering the right key combo to do it. But if you click that little yellow armor with the alternating arrows and that other view comes up, I could absolutely drag those things off onto myself, and it wasn't a problem. So just knowing how to do it now that it's different, I guess. And then, trying to explain that to you, and you've been new, that was hard for me because I'm like, I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, and in the heat of the moment, it's difficult to even be able to explain that when you've got bullets flying by your head.
Bullets lodging in my body is what seemed to be my thing constantly.
So the other thing that we were missing was they mentioned something about item banks, and I'm wondering if that's like the storage lockers that exist where you're seeing all of the consoles around the different space stations and places that say gear.
Yes.
And it's offline, and if that's going to be places to store things that are outside of local inventory.
Yes, that's exactly what those are. My understanding is they're going to kind of replace the local inventory. The thing I don't have understanding about is if that's intended to be like a global item bank or item banks per area.
Oh, so you could have one at Area 18 and one at Area in New Babbage, but maybe this is actually more global, and you'd be able to access that from Area 18 for stuff you put in at New Babbage.
For convenience sake and quality of life, I hope it's that. I think that we'll get, if it is that, I think there's going to be some backlash. There's some big purists out there that really think that this game, this environment should really edge more towards the sim side of things. It's what they wanted, it's what they backed, right? Well, I don't totally disagree with that. I think that in the development of something, you reach a point where you're looking at things and you're deciding, is the trade-off for fun worth it here, you know?
Right.
And in that case, I think no. I think a global bank doesn't break things too much. If they put limits on what you can stuff in there and trade, then it's fine. But it'd sure be nice to have access to my armor that I purchased in one place and not have to like hoof it around everywhere.
Well, yeah, it saves you 20 minutes getting from one side of the universe to the other side of the universe because damn it, I put it in this inventory and I forgot it there.
Right, and you know what? I'm okay with some things too. Like, let's say I have an armor set or some ammo that I just bought someplace, but I ended up somewhere else, and now I need access to it. And kick me for saying this, but if they want to keep things on the real side of stuff, charge me a transfer fee. I'm okay.
Right.
I'm okay, and not anything ridiculous, but if make it a percentage of the value of the things you're transferring.
Or a flat fee, when you're transferring, think of it as transferring money at a regular bank. You're transferring money internationally, you're going to get charged a fee, whether that's $10 or, whether that's they do a percentage if it's a higher amount, but, make it something easy to deal with. It's not going to kill somebody who crashed and burned and only has, a couple sets of armor in storage and they're not, they respawn on a planet where that doesn't exist.
Right. So I can also see that it may just be, this is what replaces the local inventory screen that we see. So maybe nothing will change except we're doing it through an interface now. And for the game, that makes a lot of sense. All the systems that they have in place that they just need to see working.
Yeah.
Most of this stuff they intend for it to be physicalized in some way. So if it's physicalized by adding those item banks, that could be what it is. Another thing about those item banks, they were originally supposed to tie item recovery to the item banks.
Oh.
That has been taken off for this patch cycle. So it sounds like they're not going to attach item recovery to this anymore. They're going to attach it to something else. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the item recovery, say people have this question all the time. They sell armor on the RSI webpage. If I buy armor for real money and then go die in FPS combat, if I don't go loot my body, what happened to my $20 worth of armor I bought? It's always intended to be yours, is what CIG has meant here. And currently, because they have no recovery method in place, the only way you ever get it is when they do a server wipe. And that stuff is that stuff is put back in your inventory, but you do get it religiously every time. Anything you've purchased on your account comes back when they do a server reset. So it's always been in the plans that they're going to have a way for you to recover those items. That little Pico doll that you got for whatever pledge goal we reached when we started backing the project, you put that in your favorite ship on the dashboard, your ship gets blown up, you don't lose Pico forever, right? And there'll be a way to recover that. The initial talk was it was tied to these boxes, but they took that off. It is still coming. Item recovery is still coming, but not with these boxes. And it sounds like it won't even be tied to the boxes. My guess is that it has something to do with account side stuff.
Right.
So they have to figure out a way to do that within game and not have to build this huge back end to communicate with offline stuff. I don't know. But kind of sad that that's not coming, because I've even seen an armor set or two that I'm like, oh, they had some sales here during Invictus. There were some really cool ones. There was like a 6-pack for like $50. I'm like, that's like all the armor I could ever want, and it looks cool too.
But how do I get it when I die?
Yeah, you wait till it's reset.
Oh, that would be... Yeah, I can see that not being lucrative right now.
That being said, there is a lot of cool-ass armor in the game, and we're finding that out now through FPS, so it's kind of funny that you really don't need to buy anything.
No.
Except for heavy legs. Like, none of the NPCs wear heavy leg armor. And by the way, if you don't wear heavy leg armor, you do run faster.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So mixing and matching set pieces is cool. And here's another thing I've noticed. So in all this time that I've started wearing the armor from NPCs, all my injuries are here, here, and here. I have never taken leg injuries in this game. So why not wear lighter armor?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why not, because the medium armor doesn't match the heavy armor, and I look stupid. I look like an apple on a stick. and
I
crickets.
don't even. I understand the joke, but I'm, you know, jalapeno on a steak would have been better.
Oh, on a steak. Like this guy in the video. See, that's an armor. That's a heavy armor set.
Yeah.
That's what it should look like. He's chunky on top, chunky on bottom. And there's our buddy Ty there just taking a drink for the camera. Apparently, I noticed that and zoomed in on him.
It's a neat mechanic because you don't see a mechanic that actually works properly like that in games that are actually 100% released. And this one is not. This is an alpha testing sandbox environment. It is not a live, actually the way it's supposed to work game. There's glitches during, like, you can watch the guy looked like he's attempting to climb the ladder. He did climb the ladder, but we didn't see it.
And that's a server sync thing because on his screen, more than likely, that ladder came down. Zzz, he hopped on the ladder, crawled in that ship. He's been in that ship for 30 seconds exploring the ship while we're like watching him jack back and forth and up and down.
There was a lot of lag that I experienced with Invictus, and I have a pretty skookum machine, so you could tell that it was a struggle to render all of these things. There's so much in here, so many things to look at, so much detail in the creation of the ships and in the characters that you can tell when things bog because of movement.
Yep. And hopefully soon, an improvement for all that is coming because that's all single server running this part of the shard. So there's a single thing handling the process for what we're doing right here. And coming soon, hopefully by the end of the year, is what they've talked about, is server meshing, which we've been waiting for, which means that all the crap that's happening here suddenly becomes really intensive. Other servers start handling pieces of what's going on here, splitting that load, keeping the experience level across the playfield. When there are 3 people here, 1 server, 2 servers can handle the load of what's going on. When 30 people are here, other pieces join in to pick up that load. If I'm misunderstanding the way server meshing works, please feel free to correct me. You're welcome to comment on the video as it goes up on YouTube, and I'd love to hear what the actual deal is. But from what I've read, that's what I understand server meshing is all about and the things it'll provide. So we'll see less and less of these hiccups because more stuff will come online to handle the load in a particular area.
Well, and for me, I'm prone to getting motion sick. So this was something that, those stutters actually created a very difficult time for me in the game for playing because it would interrupt my vision and create a stutter on my screen, which made my stomach heave half the time. So the smoother that this will play, the better, though I am getting more used to the view of it because I am not a person who enjoys playing in first person mode because of that whole way of moving and the way that screen glare and shifts and blur and all of that stuff works. It causes me challenges. Like I said, I am getting used to it with this as I changed my field of view to fisheye out on the edges, which helped a lot. So anybody else who's playing who gets that, you might want to check your field of view and maybe play around with that to see if it can help you to get rid of that feeling of, oh my God, I think I'm going to be sick because I'm on a rocking mode.
And if I can expand on what the wifey just said here, I don't like the fisheye effect, but even I have upped my field of view since because when I saw what she had done to her monitors, she could see more of the display stuff. So I found a comfortable range for myself where it was just starting to fisheye on the outside of an ultra wide monitor, and I just have a 34-inch one. She's got an Odyssey 49-inch G9 or whatever, so it really fisheyes on the side. But for her, that's actually not a problem. Everyone, most of the rest of us would complain about that fisheye, but if you think about the way your peripheral vision wraps and what you actually see off to the sides, because that stuff is fisheyed on the outer side of her monitor, really her vision seems to be drawn towards the center, which is fine, and she can see that perfectly, and it seems to generate a lot less motion sickness for her. So it's worth a try, folks. Like she said, if you're having trouble with it, give your field of view a try. She literally cranked hers up as high as it would go on the G9, and she's been having a way better time with it.
Yeah.
This is also a good time to plug motion sick bands. She's popped those on every once in a while when she's had problems, and they've really helped. So she went from God no, I can't play this like she's done with the kiddos before, like looking around in Minecraft, to this, which I consider way more visually intensive than Minecraft. She's having little problem with it. That's not to say if you're having a bad day to begin with, it's not probably a great time to sit down and play Star Citizen. But
No. No, and certainly those motion sick bands have helped me immensely in that regards, because again, it's something that I need to get used to. My visual cortex needs to figure out how to handle the input, and then it's been better. So the last couple of times I've played, I've been without them, thank goodness. And then we'll just keep moving forward. It's an enjoyable game, and I like playing it. So I don't like not playing things I like because I get nauseous. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's nice that we found a workaround for you then.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked a lot about the inventory and some things that were missing from the patch that are coming. What else should we touch on?
Well, I think now we've kind of run through the loop on Invictus, and just in the background has been playing, I think we really need to focus on that. What did you enjoy seeing the most at Invictus, other than me running around and enjoying myself?
Well, obviously me in the Drake apparel that I'm wearing was key, because I don't wear regular clothes in the game ever, but I'm kind of a Drake fan. And other than that though, and we had a great time running around with our buddy Ty here, but in the background you see the Polaris. That was cool. That's a big old capital ship that we got to see live in game. The interior's not fleshed out, so we didn't get to go in it, but it's pretty cool to see. A lot of this was a repeat experience for me. Last year during IAE, their big International Aerospace Expo or whatever, it's the same sort of thing. They have these convention halls and they fill them up with the cool ships in the game, and it's like a 2-week event where they run through manufacturers every couple of days and they present their stuff on the showroom floor. So it was a repeat of what I had seen, but it was really cool. There were a couple new things that they put on the floor. This year they had the Saber Firebird, which is a missile variant of the Saber. We saw some cool in-concept stuff in some of the rooms. But I think what I enjoyed most about it, honestly, was you. Because for me, you remember me last year, you were sitting and not playing, but you were listening to me go through this constantly. Sabrina, oh my God, look at this. Oh my God. And it is a really cool experience. You've probably been in a convention hall before, right? But this stuff isn't real. It felt like that though. It felt real. Like you're at a real convention. They have displays, drinks, armor, placards with history, mannequins that are posed with armor. It's really, really cool. And for a new player, what did you think? I mean, how was that for you? Because like, one of your big things is you're like, I don't know what to play. I don't know what to drive. I don't know what I like. Was it cool for you to be able to walk around all these ships other than the lag?
No, it was definitely cool to take a look and see what was there, to be able to push buttons and explore the innards of some of these larger ships and sit down in some of the smaller ones and go, okay, what is this? How does this work? The other piece that ties into this is the fact that you could rent them for 2 days without any cost to yourself and give them a shot and fly them and see. And certainly, the little ships were cool, but I didn't realize that, hey, flying the big ships wasn't actually as difficult as I had expected it to be. And so flying some of those big ships for me was more fun than flying the little ships, partly because the big ships there's more to them, and the little ships are more about shooting things, and flying and shooting at the same time is one thing I have yet to master, and I may never master, which is quite all right. That's what you're for. But no, I think it was really cool that way, to just take a look and be able to explore some of these things. There are certainly concept ships that I'm excited to explore as they become more more than concepts. Some of the other big capital ships that are coming out, the Zeus in particular, that has me a little bit excited to see whether or not it's going to have everything in it that they're saying it's going to have it in it, and then seeing how similar so many of them are, really, and yet how different.
Well, that's a big thing too. Like some manufacturers have answers to a category that another manufacturer has because all the lore in the game is these corporations that own these planets in the Stanton system. Um, well, they're corporations, so obviously they're about money. So if you got one company that's releasing, say, something, RSI, Robert Space Industries, has the Constellation. What does Drake have that's similar to that? The Corsair. What does Anvil have that's similar to that? Yeah, some would say the Carrack, but there's probably better options. But something like the Zeus is another one of those mid-level pushing on capital type ships. So for me, the Zeus is like, and if, to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Zeus is RSI. The Zeus is a step in between like your Spirit C1 from Crusader and like the Constellation Andromeda. It's like it sits right in between there. It's kind of like RSI's better version of what a Corsair is because the cargo capacity is a little closer to that. I don't know. I think it's a really cool ship too. I like seeing all the different ones. I like seeing, like you said, how similar some of them are, but they all have unique little things. And something that a lot of people don't understand about Star Citizen, maybe, is you feeding the alien, um, is that some of these variants of the same vehicle, like when you look at the Hornet that's out there, all those variants actually do have unique things that work about them that are different than the others. Some of them have lower signatures, so they're stealthier. Some of
Right.
them carry heavier weapons. Some of them have a um, like a stasis pod on board for when bounty hunting and actually retrieving physical bounties is a thing.
Mm. Yeah, we did see that.
Yeah. Yeah, but
So
I like the event overall. I think it's cool. My most enjoyable thing that they showed in Invictus was probably the Polaris. I wish we could have went in it, but I understand it wasn't ready. It was still really impressive to see the outside of it. I feel like there was something else I liked and I can't. Oh, the Retaliator. The Retaliator is a ship that I never looked at, but I actually thought it was pretty cool. It's a shame that it's one of the first ships that got all the modularity stuff, where it has swappable modules. It's a shame that it's one of the first ones that got it, yet two of the five modules that are available are still in concept. They missed the mark. I know they want to get that system in, and I'm happy they have it there and it's working. But those in concept modules for a ship that's been around so long, and it's been around a long time. Sorry, folks, excuse me. My nose is running something terrible. I've had a cold, flu, whatever the last couple days. Um, sorry, I kind of lost my track there. The Retaliator. Again, I really like the modularity thing, but if you were going to bring it online, please, any additional modules you had available for it, have them there and working. So, other than the Retaliator itself, that whole modularity concept that exists in a lot of ships, including our Carrack. The Carrack has cargo modules on the bottom as a stock deal. Those are going to be swappable in the future,
mm-hmm.
so we'll be able to put different types of modules down there later, which is cool. Is there any single one thing you saw in I Invictus that you really liked ship wise? Well, you mentioned the Zeus.
I don't know that there was one particular thing. I think I was still too new to really grab onto a particular ship. It certainly did give me the opportunity to fly the Spirit, um, and get a handle of it, and just to determine that that was the way to go for an upgrade, for me to have a permanent ship over some of the other basic models, for the game packages. So I like I said, it was very overwhelming because there was so much, and I was very new, and still figuring things out. I think the next one that comes up I'll have a better handle on what it is that I like to see and like to do, and where we might see some differences in what I rent and what I decide to drive.
Yeah, and I'm sure one of the other things that'll come is we're getting an idea of how to play the game together as well. And I have a feeling by the time IAE comes along, you might have a better idea of what you enjoy having as a daily driver, and maybe either adding something to your personal fleet with a new ship on a war bond, or maybe that Spirit gets upgraded into something that suits you better. Right now, we're having fun with it. It's actually been fun. We found a gameplay loop where one of us would be out in the Vulture, and then she would come with the Spirit and offload the cargo so the Vulture could just stay out there and continue scrapping, which turned out of the mining and scrapping gameplay loops, she didn't so much dig the scrapping part. I think she kind of dug the printing out the boxes and huffing them around.
Yes.
But the actual scraping, like, no, that's like coloring between the lines, listening to lo-fi hip-hop when you're half brain dead, and that wasn't what she was looking for. She plays the game, if I'm not speaking for you, I think you prefer things that are engaging, and that's definitely what mining was. Tweak this, distance that, move your laser around here, feather the laser power, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot to do there, and literally scraping is like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, one SCU, oh my God.
There is some excitement to it, but for me, it just wasn't what I was looking for at the time. And just sit there and do that over and over and over again, it just felt really monotonous compared to the mining. And mining could be monotonous too. Like, I'm not saying it's not. But I found that there was more finesse to it than there was to scrapping.
Oh, for sure. Oh, this kind of falls back onto things that are coming. So something else that got left behind with the cargo and freight stuff was cargo missions. This is something that the community's been wanting for a long time, and it's always been in CIG's plans to have these, but cargo missions will be coming when the remaining part of this patch releases. And by that, we're actually going to see stuff where you go pick up a physical contract, and they'll be like, yo, I need you to take X amount of this and take it over here. So that'll be cool. It's an extension of the box missions that are already in the game, which you need to play with because the value of those actually goes up. And if you're just looking for something chill to do, and it's not get the scrapper all set up and get out there and find the pieces or find the ship, you literally just go, get this box, put it in here, take it over there. But those missions actually do escalate. And then with the adding of the actual cargo missions, I think the two of those will be a real fun gameplay loop for people that just like to play that way. And there are a lot of them. There are people that's all they do in the game is cargo.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people. I did it a lot when I started because it was a good way to make money, and it helped me step up the ladder to bigger and bigger ships. But
it also gave you a good understanding of flying and how to fly those ships as well.
Yeah.
Because it's simple, it's easy. There's typically very low risk as it relates to those. And so it's easy to do compared to, bounties, potentially doing the mining, doing the scrapping, using the tow truck that's now broken, and more broken. And, some of the other loops that are out there for use, it's a very simple, straightforward, for the most part. Yes, there's challenges where people can jack you in space, etc. But it's not as detailed, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, as what you would find in some of the other loops.
Sure. And a lot of that comes off the fact that we don't have an economy that works exactly the way it's supposed to, because as opposed to calling it cargo, call it what it is, trading. So the main point of that gameplay loop in the first place was supposed to be, I'm a cargo runner, I'm a trader. I go and I physically find what somebody needs over here because it's lucrative, and I take it over there and sell it to them. And then it becomes a more finicky sort of gameplay loop when the economy works the way it's supposed to, because then you actually track the economy and you watch what's happening, and you learn how to purchase things. And this is something cool that ties in with what's coming. So if you have a persistent hangar, and you're able to take your time and stage your cargo, this is what's supposed to happen with this. I could go to the refinery, load up a C2 full of everything that we refined at the mine, take it back to my personal hangar, and offload it. And this is some of the questions I have too. How much SCU can your personal hangar hold, or is it infinite, or does it matter? Like, is it infinite until it's physicalized? Both of those questions I have. But theoretically, what you're supposed to be able to do is separate out all your gold, separate out all your Quantanium, and make specific runs. I don't run Quantanium to sell until I've got X number of SCU. I pile gold until I've got X number of SCU. Or I know that medical supplies on X such and such planet go up whenever this event runs. So I buy cheap medical supplies and stockpile them, and then later on, when that event happens, I go sell them because they're in high demand. That's how that system, one of the ways that they envision that system working. Again, I don't know specifics about what you can store and how long and how much, but we'll find out soon, I hope.
So speaking of some of these items that didn't make that initial patch before Invictus, they are currently doing some testing on some of them.
Specifically, we're being held up a little bit. There was a patch they wanted to push, 3.23.1a. That's currently what's in testing. It's testing on the PTU. And those of you that don't know the difference, the PTU is like right before it goes live. Everybody can touch it. It's pretty much ready to go. They're just waiting on a few sign-offs and kind of doing their final bug check to make sure everything's stable. Before that, there's the ePTU, and things on the ePTU run in waves. They have what's called the Avocati, which is a certain select group of playtesters that has been singled out for their kind of dedication to doing what a paid playtester does. They really dive deep and really test issues and super document, so they get invited back as part of this Avocati, is what they call it. So anything on the ePTU goes through an Avocati phase, and then there's phases 1 through 5, or waves 1 through 5, where they release players that have varying degrees of contribution, or they've got a subscription. I think you're guaranteed wave 1 with a subscription. Other than that, it kind of looks at your concierge level and how much money you've spent on the game, and you kind of get introduced. By the time you hit wave 5, that's everybody. All backers can hop in wave 5 to check it out. So 1A is just in PTU, and they're having some issues with stability with the Xenothreat event that's about to happen, and they don't want to release it live until that's worked out, so they have that running this weekend, and then they hope to start 3.23.2 with Avocati on Monday, fingers crossed, and that's the one with all the things that got cut out of the patch that we're currently in. And hopefully that'll start Avocati testing next week, and usually we'll see the patch somewhere between then and say about 2 weeks. It really just depends on how testing goes. A lot of people are hoping that this one, because they keep making references to how they're going to push this through Avocati and into the waves 1 through 5 quickly. I think that's because, again, most of what was coming in point 2 is stuff that was going to be in point 1. So they had a lot of testing on it. They held it back. They have less to monitor in the broad scope, and they're just going to nitpick certain things. Right. So it should go fast, we're hoping. I'm hoping. I like a variety of things to do, so
yeah,
the more they put in the game at any opportunity is cool for me, because I can't just sit in a mine for days straight. I can, but by the end of that, I'm like, I want to do something different, even if it's just running a cargo ship for a couple hours.
Yeah, that makes sense. The other piece of this in relation to Invictus that came up was some of the issues with cargo being duped and having scrap and recycled materials become nearly unsellable. And I think that was something that the community's been going off on as it relates to people doing exploits and things like that. And we've had conversations ourselves about, well, we're not necessarily exploiting per se if it's something that the devs are aware of, and they're trying to fix. And something that I'm seeing in some of the issue councils and the form categories under Star Citizen and in the chat logs is that, chill out, people. These things are slow in fixing and may not, like, they don't do hot patches because this is not a live game. Some of these things need to be tested and will come out in later patches. And so things like the duping that happened and then cargo getting stuck, etc. They know about it, they're fixing it, but that's not going to roll out until they do another big patch because they have to put it in line with all of the rest of the things that they're testing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. And I know it's not the popular opinion, especially for those of us that have put a great deal of money into the game. And I've put a great deal of money into the game, but honestly, I'm on the lower spectrum next to some of the backers out there, right? Um, Everybody feels like, or at least they seem to have the approach like we're owed a playable game. I don't think that's what we bought into. We are allowed to be part of an active development in the alpha phases of a game that they intend to make. I realize it's been a long time and 12 years, $700 million. I know people are like they go batshit crazy, forgive my my take on it, but they go batshit crazy about what they feel we're owed for the money we put in. Um Look at multi-million-dollar corporations that don't make games and tell me exactly what 700 million over 12 years would give these multi-million-dollar corporations. It would give them jack. um that 700 million, it looks a lot thinner when you spread it out over 12 years. I know it's just a video game in some people's mind, but the tech that they're bringing online with this, I think it's incredible. It's so much of what a lot of us gamers say, like, oh, I wish I could have this game, and this game all in one. Hell yeah, that's what this game is doing. It's putting all kinds of mini games inside of a single game and trying to make it cohesive and bring us the fantasy of living in space. um I'm sorry, I digress. I'm getting a little off track here. The main thing is what Sabrina was saying is the game's an alpha. They released a service. It worked. They got to see it work. It was broken here and here, and this needs to be fixed, but we got it in the game. Goal achieved, right? I think people forget that's what they're doing. We brought this system online and it's working. Now, for those of us that do play the game live in alpha like I do treat it like a game. I can't help it. I want to play it. That's why I log in knowing that at some point this universe will reset for day one, right? But it's enjoyable. I have so much fun. The only thing I think I do different than the people that are constantly complaining about it is I understand quickly that's broke and I leave it alone. And I've been pleasantly surprised in the time I've played, they do get back around to it. So if I just forget about it and move on to something else, eventually it'll get some attention, it'll get some love. But I think their main goal is let's get this piece of tech or this piece of content in there. Cool, it worked. Oh, people are doing this and it wasn't intended. Yeah, I'm sure they would love to fix that because they do know we play it like it's a live service game. I know they know that. But that's not their priority, right?
No, but really, by having people playing this alpha as a live service game, or with that in mind, or using it in that way, you get far better test data, far better information on the back end about, okay, how is this mechanism actually going to be used? How is somebody doing this? Compared to what you get with, the weekend alpha testing, beta testing that happens for a lot of other games that crash badly when they launch, because people find ways to do things that are unintended, that somebody thought, oh, well, maybe this will happen. Well, if you're thinking maybe this is going to happen, somebody's going to do it. It's just guaranteed. It's the way things work. Somebody's going to try to break the system. To do it at this stage helps them get the data to be able to make sure that when this does finally eventually go into a scenario where we're looking at a alpha release, a whatever you want to call it, that some of those mechanisms that people were exploiting or doing in this environment aren't available in the environment that's actually, I'm going to spend $100, $120 on this game, and now I have a game.
Right.
So, and for me, this is a sandbox. It is so interesting to watch the development of this game, and I've been watching it for a long time, alongside of my husband here. My late husband also was watching it right from the time that it was in Kickstarter, and it has come so far, and there's been so many technological developments in AI, in server stability, in all sorts of things over the last 12 years, that this is only going to explode now. And if they can have the right number of people working on this, it's going to come soon. It's going to come sooner than what we've been seeing. And from my perspective, they've actually done really, really well at taking all of the feedback that they're getting within these particular environments and continuing to work on these systems. And if this never makes it to a fully polished game, we've had fun. We've enjoyed it. We've helped make it what it is. And if they continue to push this out with these types of advancements throughout the course of the next 15 years, what have you done for 15 years? You've played an awesome game. You've helped develop something. You've helped to enhance the building of other games based on the technology and the advancements that are found here to only make the gaming world better. And unfortunately, the gaming world is somewhat stagnant right now. And so it's exciting to see this developing in this sandbox and being able to play in this environment, even though, yes, it's got challenges.
Well said, I think. I mean, I have a long history with the gentleman. Well, not a personal history, but I have a history with the gentleman that's making this dream possible. It's his dream, Chris Roberts. People have a lot of varying opinions on Chris Roberts. I'm not here to push mine versus anyone else. And I am aware of the successes and failures that man has had over the course of his career to get to where he is today. I don't care. What I remember is sitting back home in the late 80s, early 90s, and sitting down at my 386, 20 megahertz, 20 megabyte hard drive computer and playing a little game called Wing Commander. Wing Commander was innovative. We had a lot of polygon graphics back in the time. Nobody had done really like bit mapping on a big scale except for some like FPS shooters that were coming out. And I don't remember the exact timelines here, but like Doom and Castle Wolfenstein, the originals, they were doing bitmaps. On their characters and stuff. Then Wing Commander took those bitmaps and put them on a polygonal spaceship in a space game and let me shoot down a futuristic space race of space cats that sold the Star Wars feel to me, right? They had a saga, they had characters, the characters had life to them, and I flew spaceships. And when you look back at that compared to this, it's like an archaic game made out of stones and wood versus the technology we have now. But Chris Roberts, of course, was the one that started that Wing Commander series. I has a soft spot in my heart, as it did for a lot of backers. I'm willing to wait it out. I'm willing to, wade through the bog and stand the storm and all that stuff to see what he comes up with. And every time I log in and look at what's here now, like Sabrina just said, if they somehow just polished it to a degree that the servers were stable and stayed working and they just stopped development and this is it, this is the best we can do, I'd still actually play this game in the condition it's in, as long as they fix little loops.
Yeah, little things. But really, in the grand scheme of things, this is a playable game.
Mm-hmm.
We saw through Invictus some of their server recovery systems where crashes to desktops were fewer. We had 2, I think, in our time playing. And most of them was just, server error, please wait, and it would recover. And so they're starting to get to that stage of seeing those server pieces become more stable, become more.
And that is such a huge deal. If we look back to November last year, where I was making some of my first money seriously in the game. So basically when I came back, I had from the time I started backing, I had come back occasionally to show friends this and that. So there's even a point there, I can't remember, it was 6-7 years ago. Um, there was a point where all you could do was log in a hangar and see your ship in the hangar. That was awesome, but that's all you could do. Then there was, you could log in the space station, you could fly around a bit. There were really no missions, but the basics, flight systems and combat in the ships was there. So when I came back in November and got serious because the game had come so far and there was so much to do, when I sat down, I lost millions. I would spend hours running these trade routes and then upping the type of cargo that I was carrying. I would lose millions, and the millions had nothing to do with pirates or people jacking with me. The millions I lost were flying from this moon to this TDD to sell my goods, and the server would crash. Remember, we called them 30Ks. That'll become a thing of the past, right? Nobody will even remember that, right? So a 30K, you get an error 30,000 on your screen. I meant the server went shit belly up, right? So when you log back in, that whatever SCU of cargo you had on your ship, gone. They did make a progress step there later where if it 30K'd, there was 30K protection. So the server was taking snapshots as it went. And if it was possible, that server would back up when it 30K'd, it would restore that snapshot. And if you waited the system out, your ship would be stored and you could possibly retrieve your ship with cargo on it. But before that, and that happened in my playtime, you lost. Now it's progressed from 30K losing all your shit, 30K protection, sometimes lose your shit, to you're flying through space, all your cargo hold is full, the server says server error. If you can just wait 5 minutes, and let's call it 6, 5 minutes for the server to recover, another minute for everything in your general vicinity to repopulate the way it's supposed to. And guess what? Your cargo's in the back. You didn't lose millions. My luck, I'd probably get tromped on by a pirate about that time, but...
Or I'd fall through the world.
Right? But it's making leaps and bounds to making it more and more playable. I'm happy to see the progress they've made. I love it. Love it.
In that regards, what's the funnest thing you've done in the last 2 weeks?
For me, it's odd. I play this game because it's a space combat game, and I wanted that Wing Commander experience. I wanted to fly cool-ass spaceships, all of them. You know me in the other games I play. If there's a bunch of different ways to play it, I like to play all those different ways. So having light fighters and medium fighters and heavy fighters and capital type ships and all these different ways to combat in space, that's what I'm all about. So funny enough that the most fun I've had in the last 2 weeks is setting my foot on a planet, pulling a gun out of my personal inventory, and capping some badass NPC in the head from 40 meters away. And I don't even care what kind of gun it is. It's just fun the FPS thing. I like FPS games, don't get me wrong. I mentioned old ones a minute ago. I played Doom and Castle Wolfenstein back in the day. And Quake and all of those ones, and Quake Arena. I love those games, but I'm not predominantly an FPS player. I have gotten so much enjoyment out of this. The guns feel real and chunky. They feel like they have substance to them. The recoil on them is cool. The scopes all look so individual. The guns look so individual. I was a little disappointed at what we could purchase in the store. Yep. I kind of knew that was there, but the minute we started to get into FPS missions and seeing what they're dropping on the ground for us, oh my God, that's worth it too. Like, oh, I found this. Oh, I found that. And again, the scopes are all different. The way they work is different. 4 different sniper rifles, completely different in the way they feel and act.
And the way they looked, really.
Right, and I've had a lot of fun. The most fun I've had, and I gotta admit, a lot of people my age have been playing MMOs and various video games for so many years now. We have a preconceived idea of what most games are like. I've gotten to a point where in most of those MMOs, I think I ended up, even with partners, I think I ended up playing with playing by myself most of the time. I almost said playing with myself. It's not that kind of channel, at least not till after dark. But um, I have been impressed at how much this has brought back that multiplayer aspect, whether it's hanging out with our buddy Ty across the pond or just as simple as only me and the wife. It is so gratifying to pop down in one of those bunkers and be talking to each other across the room about who's watching what, who's got what. I got you, don't worry about it. Oh, I'm reloading. And you can have that communication with each other. And I think those bunkers run smoother than they would have if I had done them alone. Um, so anyway, to answer your original question, it's the FPS stuff. I have had the most fun in the last 2 weeks doing that than I've had with most things that I've done in Star Citizen. It's been a pleasant surprise. I'm not abandoning space
Oh
combat
God, no, no.
by
There's
any.
still viability there and still fun things to do there.
And it all chains together, which again is the great thing about this game. The fact that Sabrina had allowed me to put some more money into the game last year, and I picked up a variety of different ships that would help me anytime that there was a wipe. That I would basically be able to have something to generate money, whether it was through salvaging or mining, or just a ship to shoot things down and in combat for bounties or whatnot. Since we started playing together, that philosophy has changed too. We took a bunch of those ships and saw an opportunity to get a Carrack on a Warbond upgrade, and we did that because for us it was cool. And that right along with FPS has been one of my favorite things. We've got a big ship now that we drive an Ursa into, and we get a Pisces and park it in there. And even that experience of loading those little ships up on the great big ship is so much fun. When could you do that before in a game and then fly away with the big ship, right? Because I know
When
there's
can
games.
you do that ever in a game?
Well, there's games like even the original Wing Commander, like when you finished your mission, you docked with the carrier, right? That was cool.
Yeah, but you docked with the carrier. Did you drive it into the carrier?
Well, you drove it within range and then it auto landed you.
Yeah.
But you never got to fly the carrier, and that's what this game gives you. I'm like, I have a mobile base of operations. We set down someplace, we pack our shit however we want, we go do things, and it's really a cool feeling. Something I've really enjoyed. Plus, a lot of the fighters and stuff that I've come to enjoy playing over the last year, there's a lot of them I put on the back burner because it was good but not quite good enough. Now with Sabrina, the Hurricane, oh my God, what an awesome heavy fighter. You can argue with me all you want about it. I'm just saying that the way it flew before and to how it is when you got somebody in the gunner seat, oh my God, that thing's a beast. Anyway, I get sidetracked really easy.
It becomes much, and I've seen in some of the chats throughout the last couple of weeks, it becomes more fun when you have somebody to play with. There's more things you can do successfully when you have a team of people, whether that team is 2 people, whether that team is 5 people. That just, it creates a greater sense of fun. And certainly when it comes to the bunkers and the distribution centers and where you're dealing with multiple people that you have to eliminate, the more, and we did see this, that the more people involved, the harder it becomes. The more strategic you have to play to get to where you need to be. Because we did notice there was a particular mission that we would do together where we had more access spaces where you did it on your own and there was an access space that was cut off. And I think that's really cool to see that the game actually recognizes, oh, this person is solo. They don't have anybody else there. So we need to remove this piece so that they can actually do the mission until you run into the, continual spawning, lovely, shotgun run in, let's do this type thing.
I did that a few days ago and it was glorious.
So, I think it's important to know that, again, even though this game is an alpha, it's not even an alpha. It's in development. It's under development. It's a sandbox under development. It's still got viable things that you can do and participate in and work around and play with you if you backed it and forgot you backed it and you want to come back in and do something in it, know that there's more things to do in it now than there ever has been, and it actually is fun and viable.
I'm
We've
talking to
got
you, Pain.
um it's just not going to lead you by the hand. It's not going to take you by the shoulders and direct you in the path that you need to go. It's not going to give you all of those pieces that we're used to in fully developed games. But I don't think it needs to.
No, also, most games don't let you sit here and watch your wife try on armor and make it look sexy somehow. By the way, just remove the leg pieces. That seems to do the trick.
It's a bodysuit then. Well then, okay. Totally off topic and not, Anyway, throughout the last couple weeks, we have changed our fleet. And to wrap up this stream, this section of the stream, we'll probably come back here in a few minutes and actually do some gameplay.
Yeah.
But to wrap this particular section up, we need a name for some of our ships that we have upgraded to. I think there's 2. Is there 2?
No, just the Carrack.
Just
right
the
now.
one?
Specifically the Carrack. We have a Carrack and we have some ideas for names. Sabrina's going to put that together and throw it up in a poll for us real quick. And I'd like to get your feedback on what you think we should name our ships. We've narrowed it down to 4 or 5. I can't remember. We'll put that up here on stream. If you're in stream right now, it doesn't cost you anything. If you've been hanging out here and followed us, you're accumulating channel points. That's all it takes is some channel points to throw a vote up there. We will probably put this vote up again when we're in stream later. If you're catching this video on YouTube, feel free to leave a vote for your favorite in the comments down below. And you'll start to see weekly updates from us on our Star Citizen journey on the YouTube channel, as well as catch us anytime we're streaming live on Twitch. While Sabrina's putting that list together, I will take this opportunity to say thank you so much for those of you that hang out with us and watch. If you're new to the channel, please toss us a follow. I'd certainly appreciate it. It helps us out every bit as much as a subscription in the standpoint of visibility. The more followers we have, the more the word is out there, more people come by to see us. If you do like our content, I would love to see you stay around and join us every time we're on, and please consider subscribing. That will help me continue doing this for you, and a lot of this money we can pump back into things to help out the stream, and hopefully do things down the road like giveaways and stuff like that. I would love to be able to generate the capital to actually purchase some things in game that I can gift to other players. That would be awesome. Again, you can help us out with that by subscribing. Down the road, I might have a Patreon, something we'll talk about. Don't really know about that now. Just kind of, it's out there in the wings, feeling out things. Don't forget to, as an alternative to subscribing, you can use your Amazon Prime Twitch subscription. If you have Amazon Prime and it's linked to your Twitch account, you have a free sub you can give to a content creator of your choice every month, and it does renew every month. For you to use. You have to apply that to whoever each month. So if you want to show your support that way, we appreciate that just as much. Every little bit helps. And I hope you keep coming back. I hope there's something here that you like. How are we doing on that poll?
We'll have to come back to it later. If you're watching our stream on YouTube, you can comment in the comment section below in YouTube. Related to that, we will put up an official naming probably in a few days as we're looking at numbers and information.
All right, the poll giving you problems?
Oh, it's up.
Oh, it is up. Oh, I see. I should probably look at my monitor screen every once in a while. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? I almost centered it perfect where it wasn't blocking anything.
Yep.
Almost. All right, and like Sabrina said, we will throw that up when we're playing later to actually gather some live hits. But feel free to comment on YouTube with your preference. I think that does it. I think we went longer than we had meant to.
We did
for our first one, but we just wanted to get a feel for how we wanted to do this and what we wanted to talk to you all about. I'm welcome to feedback there too. If there's something you'd like to see us address every week in our recap, let me know, and we'll go off from there. In the meantime, Sabrina,
We'll take a break and we'll come back and actually do some gameplay here in probably about 10-15 minutes.
all right. Well, we hope to see you back for some gameplay then, and we will let you all go, and I'll hold you off with some music for a bit here.